Hello, I am Brandon Taylor, and I will be representing Maleficent as her defense attorney. To begin, I'm going to do a quick review over the case. Maleficent is a fairy that has been accused of kidnapping and the attempted murder of the king's daughter, Aurora, also known as Sleeping Beauty, because Maleficent believed that the king disrespected her. Since she wasn't invited to the christening of the daughter, and was also told that she wasn't wanted there. In response to the prosecution of Maleficent, I would like to say that Maleficent exhibited the likely signs of schizophrenia and possibly other mental disorders. Therefore, Maleficent should not be held accountable for any crimes she may have committed. Now, I have here a written testimony from one of Maleficent's guards which supports the fact that she was indeed mentally unstable. After serving as one of Maleficent's personal guards for many years, I can personally attest to the fact that she exhibits several of the early signs of schizophrenia. These signals include social withdrawal, hostility, an inability to express joy, flat expressionless gazes, inappropriate laughter, depression, irrational statements, an extreme reaction to criticism, and strange ways of speaking. Now, I would like to call the guard up as a witness who has personally observed Maleficent's irrational behavior.
Thank you for allowing me to serve as a witness. I am currently one of Maleficent's guards, and she has been my employer for several years. And this time, I can verify that she shows many of the symptoms stated earlier. At most times, Maleficent has a very hostile personality, and she keeps a stoic look on her face. I can also recall on one occasion, Maleficent requested that I bring her tea, specifically with no ice. However, I misunderstood and included ice in the tea. In a fit of anger, she proceeded to skin my pet cat while hysterically laughing, and I quote, "as punishment for my ignorance." That will be all.
Thank you for your testimony. You are dismissed. Now, I would like to call another witness to the stand, Maleficent's magic pet raven, Diablo, who often sits on her shoulder and accompanies her.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm Maleficent's companion. I've been by her side for many years, and I know her very well. I have noticed that Maleficent has always shown an extreme reaction to criticism and often enacts punishments that some might say are cruel, such as her reaction at the christening of the king's daughter, to which she was not invited. As Maleficent was told she was not wanted at the event, the news triggered an extremely harsh reaction. Maleficent cast deadly curse that would otherwise cause the princess to die on her 16th birthday, and then fled the scene. On another occasion, Maleficent also sent me into the forest to hunt down the princess and bring her back to the castle so that she may enact her punishment. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Diablo. I also have 8 Supreme Court cases that support the defense of my client. The first being Clark versus Arizona. In this situation, Clark was being tried for the murder of a police officer, but Clark used his paranoid schizophrenia as defense. The court ruled that criminal defendants who lack understanding of their actions would be treated differently by the legal system than other defendants. Therefore, being an insane person, she shouldn't be held accountable for any other acts that she may have committed, since she is possibly mentally insane. Next is Ake versus Oklahoma. With Ake being a probable paranoid schizophrenic, he murdered 2 people. In court, his attorney was denied the right to have a physician present in order to help the insanity defense. He was then sentenced to death. After the trial, it was required that states have at least 1 psychiatrist present. In this case, I request that there will be a psychiatrist to observe her past actions to determine that she was insane before she can be convicted of any crimes. Otherwise, this trial would violate the Sixth Amendment, which states that all would have the right to a fair and speedy trial. Otherwise, this trial would not be fair without having a psychoanalysis conducted. Now, I'm going to refer to Miranda versus Arizona, where the court stated that custody will be admissible at trial only if the prosecution can prove that the defendant was informed of the right to consult with the attorney before and during questioning. Now, I do not believe that Maleficent wasn't notified that she could have an attorney available, since Maleficent wasn't read her Miranda rights. She can't be prosecuted for any self-incrimination. The next case I'm referencing is Dickerson versus U.S., which goes right along with Miranda versus Arizona. In this case, the right to read your Miranda rights was upheld. It was ruled that any confession is inadmissible if it was a result of coaxing. In Maleficent's case, she was not read her rights. Any confession cannot be used in court. Now, in this case, Ford versus Wainwright, the case upheld the law that the insane can't be executed. Ford was convicted of murder and sentenced to death, but it was determined that he was suffering from paranoid schizophrenia. Now, in Maleficent's case, a prince was sent to slavery. This punishment is unlawful until it can be determined whether she was mentally stable, since Maleficent displays many signs of being schizophrenic. Therefore, the death sentence was unconstitutional in this situation. In another case, I would like to use Kennedy versus Louisiana, where the court upheld the Eighth Amendment, which pertains to no cruel and unusual punishments. In the case, Kennedy was convicted of raping a young girl and was sentenced to death. Since his crime did not result in the victim's death, he was not executed. In Maleficent's case, she was accused of cursing the princess and kidnapping several people. None of these events resulted in a death of any of the victims, so it is a definite violation of the Eighth Amendment to kill Maleficent. In United States versus Miller, Miller challenged the National Firearms Act as unconstitutional. The act put an excise on taxes on the manufacture and transfer of certain firearms. It was ruled that this was unconstitutional as it was not unconstitutional as it did not violate the Second Amendment. In Maleficent, the king banned all spindles from the land as they were seen as a deadly weapon in an effort to stop Maleficent. This law was unconstitutional as it violated the right to prevent seizure of personal property. The final case I will mention in this is Lockett versus Ohio. In this case, it was ruled that the death penalty was a mandatory for the convicted of aggravated murder. In Maleficent's case, she did not kill anyone, but it was determined that she must be killed. This is an unlawful decision as she did not commit murder and she was never convicted of murder. So I will say again that the death sentence was unlawful. In conclusion, Maleficent, a possibly insane person, was sentenced to death because of her actions. This is unlawful since she was potentially schizophrenic. Also, Maleficent did not kill any of her victims, so the death sentence is a direct violation of the Eighth Amendment. Therefore, Maleficent should be cleared of any charges facing her regarding the Princess Aurora and the King.